How's it going, y'all? It's your boy Raymond back up in here with another film review, and today we've got another special one because today we are going to be talking about the new Sean Baker film, Anora. Anora is the latest film by director, writer, producer, extraordinaire, auteur, Sean Baker. You may know him from his works such as Tangerine or probably The Florida Project, and really known for being sort of this indie filmmaker auteur with his very raw handheld style, and obviously with the film Tangerine specifically, being able to pick up these unknown actors or just even random people off the street and making these small, very, very low budget films out of basically nothing. But his newest film, Anora, is truly something special because it comes at a time in Baker's life where he has finally reached a point where he has the name recognition and credibility in the industry. And that was boosted even more just a few months ago when Anora won the Palme d'Or at Cannes. You know, for somebody who was making movies on his iPhone only 10 odd years ago, to now winning the Palme at Cannes is truly something that is really inspiring, not only for me, but also for other filmmakers out there who want to be able to produce and make a bunch of these low budget films and don't really know how to, and really how to get those accessible out to people. And I think Sean Baker, now with the platform that he has now, I think is like a true inspiration for a lot of people who are just willing to go out and make stuff on like nothing. And I think for how long he's been around and with the films that he's produced, he's really become sort of like a signature filmmaker for this generation. And sometimes with these low budget sort of indie filmmakers, whenever they sort of get into the habit of making these more well-known and well-established films, sometimes whenever they transition to maybe like a bigger studio system, or possibly get the budget that they want for this grand epic that they want to produce, sometimes it can sort of get in the way of their own creativity in some sense. A lot of the times their work can sort of sacrifice the key creative details and just the raw experimentation that a lot of their earlier work contained for a more accessible product and just a more accessible story in general, for that more people can really reach. That, of course, also leads to more commercial success, which is great. But I mean, also, I think a lot of indie filmmakers struggle to find this balance between what will be accessible for people and the stories that they really and truly want to tell and the way that they want to tell them. I think a lot of these indie filmmakers sort of either are working up against the wall, trying to get as much as they can done with a little budget as possible. But then once they are given more resources and more tools, it can be a little bit more difficult for them to sort of pin down or hone down on the intricacies that made their earlier works more interesting. But luckily, with Sean Baker's previous three films, Tangerine, The Florida Project, and Red Rocket, it seems like him and A24 have had a really great relationship up to this point. I was also curious after Red Rocket what exactly his newest film would really look like, and how much he would really be able to grow as a director and also grow in the populace. And after the win at Cannes and after the festival circuit, it seems like he's really sort of blown up, and it's been like a steady gradual progression, which I think is really exciting. And it seems like with Anora, his style has translated really well with the bigger budget. And I think given the resources and the different tools and the dynamic actors involved, I think he's really been able to take his script and sort of run with it, and has been able to do sort of what he wants with the resources that he's given. I think what truly makes Sean Baker's style unique is really his writing. As many people probably know, he casts his own films, and he said in the Q&A that I went to for Anora, he said that he already had Mikey Madison in mind before he even started writing the story, and he knew that he wanted to write a story sort of about this subject of like the Russian American culture in New York. Didn't really know how to go about it, but he seemed like he had an idea of an angle that he wanted to take. And he said that after seeing Mikey in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and then after seeing her in Scream, he knew that he had to work with her, even though he didn't have a script finished. Before even writing the script, he had met with her multiple times, and she had signed on to do the film, even without having a script, even without a draft, nothing. I think sort of having that specific angle into writing characters with actors in mind is something that I know a lot of directors tend to stay away from, just for the fact that you might pinhole some of the people that you're casting into this role that just would be easier or more beneficial for their skills. But it seems like with what Sean Baker has been able to do is he's been able to take the personalities and personas that he's given with the actors that he finds, and he's able to highlight these alternate personalities of theirs, and he's really able to let these actors shine in roles that probably aren't too dissimilar from the people that he's casting. And for Sean, it almost seems like the process of writing his scripts is almost reliant on the people that he tends to work with and the actors that he tends to find. It wasn't even just Mikey either. He had been a friend of a couple of the other people in the cast when he wanted to talk about this story. And he had cast other people before even writing them as well. It just really seems like he tries to cultivate this idea and this group of people before he even goes about diving into the story. And he can really inject the personalities and the character traits of these actors into the story itself. And I think it's so cool that you have somebody who's working today who is this collaborative with his actors and with the people surrounding him when it comes to the filmmaking and the writing process. And it's rare that you really get to see that anymore. Everybody always seems to have their own specific role in the filmmaking process, but the fact that he is so collaborative and he just has this raw, like, shoot and go kind of style, I think that's super inspiring. Mikey Madison, obviously in the lead role for this film, she is just incredible. She gives it an incredible performance, and I think her personality really just shines in this role. She's given just a ton to do, and her emotions go from insane highs to really low lows. And just the range of her performance throughout this entire film is just something that is so breathtaking and incredible to witness. Just the amount of distress and love and heartbreak that she goes throughout the entire film is just incredibly devastating by the end. Also, I'm probably going to butcher this name, but Mark Edelshitten as Ivan. I'm pretty sure that's probably wrong, but I think he is also a wonderful casting choice as well. He has this huge exuberance as like this sort of young boy. He seems like he's like a 16-year-old child in the film, which, not to suggest anything, he has this youth about him that I think is so specific and plays off of Annie's role so interestingly. And another highlight also is oh my god, I'm gonna butcher this as well, Yuri Borisov, I think that's right. Yes, Yuri Borisov. His character sort of comes in about halfway through the film, but by the end of the film, his character almost kind of takes on its own personality, and by the end, he's almost like another important figure in Annie's life that allows her to change and to transform into a different person. I think the true magic of Sean's writing is really when he gets everybody as an ensemble in these scenes together. Specifically when they get to the house scene, when they get to like the mansion and Ivan's like, caretakers or whatever bust in and try to get him to, go with them to meet up with his parents because he's in like massive trouble essentially because he got married to Annie. I think that whole scene I think is like 28 minutes or something like that, and the back and forth, the dialogue, the way that all of the characters are orchestrated throughout the entire scene just seems so natural, and every beat is just so on point, and the way that Sean directs the entire sequence is just super impressive. And this is sort of something that he does in a lot of his films, but there's this idea of real time throughout his entire films where scenes tend to drag on and feel a little bit longer than normal scenes because you do have that real time factor where scenes and dialogue and interactions between people will play out for longer than you think that they would. And it allows the story to sort of have this continuous motion through it, and it allows transitions between scenes to feel almost like you've been watching a film throughout somebody's entire day. This is something that really has become a staple of Sean Baker's work, all the way from Tangerine through Anora, and I think it's something that is really difficult to sort of tackle. I think it's super impressive, and I think it's something that not a lot of directors are able to tackle efficiently. He also mentioned in the Q&A that, you know, they only had so many days. I think they had like a week maybe to shoot in the mansion, and so to try and cram all of that dialogue, all of the blocking, the way all of the characters are orchestrated throughout the scene, to do it in such a small amount of time is just incredibly impressive, especially for him. Lastly, in the Q&A, he also touched on something that I think is also really important. You know, this is not like a massive studio film, even though it is on a slightly higher budget than what Sean had done previously. I think, you know, this is still not something that is like, you know, a big Warner Brothers picture. This isn't like a Marvel movie or a big, you know, Disney Plus film or something like that. You know, he's working within the confines of what he's been given, but I think that's sort of where he thrives. And it's rare that you really get to see a lot of these films up on the big screen these days. And something that he mentioned is that, you know, they really want to see more films like this in theaters. And I think that notion is super inspiring, and I completely agree. And I think it's great that you have a lot of these smaller indie films that are coming out of the festival circuit that are getting these big theater releases, not only nationwide, but, you know, around the world. And I think seeing more of that is really what's going to keep these theaters open, especially these small independent theaters as well. You know, obviously a lot of the hype surrounding this film is because of the fact that it won the Palm, but there's like a lot of other independent films that are coming out, ones that I'm even going to make reviews on soon, that are going to be coming out in the fall, that I think are super important and I think people should see. One that comes to mind is the new film by Kiyoshi Kurosawa, Cloud. That film, he's really sort of garnered a reputation for being one of like the big name directors that are coming out of Japan right now. Because of his films like Pulse and Cure. I think it's cool that that is getting a release in the US, and I think it's cool that there's more films that are starting to, you know, leak back into theaters that are small budget and that are made by these small filmmakers, and I think that's super cool. So yeah, I mean, all in all, I think Anora really lives up to the expectations that I had going into it. I didn't really care for a lot of the stuff that had come out during the summer, and just didn't even really see a whole bunch of stuff that had come out over the summer, and just didn't really have any interest for it. But then as soon as the festival circuit started, there was a lot of stuff that I was interested in to go see. And this was definitely high on my list this year as to films that I just had to go see immediately as soon as they got to LA. So if you haven't gone and seen it, go and see it. And if you have gone and seen it, go see it again and support this film. I'm definitely going to be seeing it probably for a second, maybe even a third time with some of my friends once it gets the wide release here in LA. But yeah, I mean, those are my thoughts. All in all, I think it's a fantastic film, and I think it really lived up to my expectations, and I have very little complaints about like the entire film, and I think it's a fantastic piece of work, and I think it's cool to see that Sean Baker is only going to be getting better. For this film, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I think that's pretty justified from what I saw out of the first viewing. I may or may not raise it the second time I go see it. I might fall in love with it even more than I have already. It does also make it my current film of the year, ahead of Challengers. You know, whether or not that will change by the end of the year, I don't know. There's still a lot of stuff that has to come out by the end of the year, and hopefully it's really good. Anora is my film of the year, and I'm super happy about that, and I'm super happy that Sean Baker is really getting out there and getting the name recognition that he deserves. So yeah, those are pretty much all my thoughts. Thank you guys for watching. I definitely appreciate it. Go check out Anora, like I said, if you haven't already. And yeah, be sure to stay tuned, like and subscribe down below, hit the notification bell, because I'm going to be coming out with a couple more reviews soon. I've seen a bunch of stuff over the course of the past week or so I'm definitely going to be making videos on those as well. So stay tuned, and I appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.